man, welcome to the Frickcast. Today, we're ranking some Halloween bricks. Some of the best bars are, of course, the spooky ones. So in this video, we'll be ranking the bricks from worst to best. Now this list will include all the current offerings from Dr. Squatch, Sudsy Bear, and Grizzly Naturals, as those are the only ones I've tried so far. So next year, we may have some additions. Now I will also be including the Drunken Pumpkin, a discontinued bar from Squatch, and the Candy Apple, a fall seasonal limited from Grizzly, because after all, fall and spooky season go hand in hand. We have 12 bricks today, and if you want a more in-depth review of any of these spooky boys, I already have individual guides out for each. So with that, let's get slamming. At 12 is the only bar on this list that I don't really like, and that is the Full Moon from Grizzly Naturals. I don't know if it's just me or maybe the batch I got, but this is one of the worst smelling bars I've gotten in a while. It's described as a sweet scent with fruity notes of blood orange and musky notes of star anise. At least in the bar that I got, there is nothing fresh, fruity, or sweet about it. Really the only notes I can make out are the star anise. To me it just smells old, like something your grandma would wear, only she's been using the exact same bottle of perfume since the Great Depression. I'm kinda thinking it may have just been an off batch, since every other review I've seen has a drastically different opinion. I'd be curious to hear though what your guys' experience was with this bar. Other than the scent though, the bar feels fine. It's got a nice heavier grit to it and a thick moisturizing lather that Grizzly bars do very well. I also don't really get any sort of Halloween vibe from this brick. The only thing scary about it is how bad it smells. At 11 is the Boneyard, again from Grizzly Naturals. However, this bar is a major improvement. I like it quite a bit. Again, I'm not sure what everyone else's experience with this bar was, but the scent, at least in my bar, was pretty much just straight up lemongrass, maybe with a little bit of earthiness. But hey, I love lemongrass, so I'm not complaining. Still, it's maybe not the most unique, spooky scent on a list like this. Where this bar really excels though is in the shower. For a bar that has zero grit, it has a thick ass lather and a really nice deep clean to it. And with that lemongrass scent that really lingers, it's a solid bar that feels very fresh. At 10 is the Fright Night from Sudsy Bear. We've reached the tier of bricks that I would consider all to be good, but not quite the best work of each company. Really, I could have just as easily put the Fright Night 3 spots higher. So far, this is the first bar that I think really checks all of the boxes you want for a Halloween boy. Nice, spooky scent, check. Cool, nifty ingredients, check. And an interesting and unique theme, check. The scent is more complicated, but to me it's mainly a vanilla type scent, with some sour, citrus undertones. The bar certainly looks the part. I love the colors and the whole Scooby-Doo vibe it gives off. It's just not quite one of my favorite bricks on this list. The Fright Night deodorant though is currently my favorite deo, so this is a nifty flavor overall. At 9 is the Candy Apple from Grizzly Naturals. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to hate on Grizzly. I think their bars are well made. It's just they're kinda going up against the God Squad right now that is the Squatch and Sudsy Halloween lineups. For what it's worth though, and maybe for some perspective, I'd say the Candy Apple is in the top half of overall bars I've used. In fact, I love this bar. I think it has a very unique scent. It's kind of a different take on the apple flavor, as instead of being a powerful in-your-face scent of fresh apple, this boy smells more like baked apple. I would say it reminds me of like an apple pie or cinnamon apples, but it's not that sweet. Instead, it's very tart. This is also one of the few bars that I feel like I can actually smell the oatmeal in, which I kind of like how that pairs with the apple. The poppy seeds also work great for some medium grit, and the wash overall is above average. Honestly, this is a bar that's quickly rising for me, so don't be surprised to see it a couple spots higher next time we do a list like this. I wasn't overly impressed with it when I first got it, but it quickly grew on me, and now it's a bar that I like quite a bit, and one that is a perfect fall flavor. I did also get the Candy Apple in the shampoo and conditioner bar form as well, and I'm pretty excited to try that out. Great flavor from Grizzly. At 8 is the Headless Rinse from Dr. Squatch. We're 5 bars in and are just now talking about our first Squatch brick, despite them making up almost half of this list. So that should tell you about how I feel the overall quality of their Halloween bricks is. The Headless Rinse, however, is pretty easily my least favorite. It is the spiritual successor of the long-lost Drunken Pumpkin, which we'll talk about later. flavor, but it's also got its own thing going on. It does in many ways have that classic pumpkin bourbon scent, a warm, fall scent with some spicy notes. But this time it's got a strong pineapple smell to pair with it. I don't know if that was the intent, but that was the result. A classic autumn pumpkin scent combined with a tropical one. It's a bit odd, but I won't say it's bad because it is still a good scent, as is the bar overall. It's zero grit and has a nice lather to it. I think pumpkin tends to work well in bars, and this is no exception. I also love the Headless Horseman theme. I think it was a clever way to do a pumpkin flavor and fit it into the Squatch Monster Brick lineup. At 7 is the Psycho Pumpkin from Grizzly Naturals, our last bar from Grizzly, and in my opinion, easily the best one overall. In fact, going forward from here, I really have nothing negative to say about any remaining brick, as I don't think I would change anything about them. I know we're still only at 7, but we've come a long way, and this is just a beautiful brick. As low as I've been today with Grizzly, they absolutely slammed it with this bar. It's a spicy boy, with heavy notes of clove, cinnamon, and nutmeg, but it's still very much a pumpkin, bourbon, cologne type of scent. If you like warm spices and pumpkin, then this is your brick. The bar also has some good ingredients, some grit, and feels great to use. I'm looking forward to trying out some of the other products in the Psycho Pumpkin flavor. At 6 is the Werewolf Wash from Dr. Squatch. I'm sure this will be a controversial take putting this new fan favorite this low. It's again another bar that I could have put a few spots higher. Its only crime is that I prefer some other bars more. A strong, sweet, cologne style scent. It's kind of a hard scent for me to describe. It's always reminded me of cola as it's very sweet and spicy. It's also a pretty manly scent, especially on a list like this, so in that regard it does stand out. It's also a nice heavy grit brick that comes alive in the shower, transforming into an unstoppable beast. I love the forget-me-not seeds as grit, and honestly, I love this bar. The first of many bangers from Squatch. At 5 is the Ghostly Ale from Sudsy Bear. I feel like this is a low ranking for it, but it definitely deserves top 5 status, and it at least gets that today. Just a powerful, crisp, red apple scent with a hint of cinnamon. If you just want a fresh, fruity apple smell, then here you go. It's a different style than something like the candy apple, and while both are great in their own ways, I do prefer this Ghostly Boy. It's got a good grit to it and a deep moisturizing clean. And like pretty much every Sudsy brick, the ingredient list is absolutely stacked, but I won't get into all of that today. I just love the bewitching scent of cinnamon apples and the overall vibe of this bar. At 4 is the Count Sudzilla from Dr. Squatch, probably my favorite newly released brick. Now I originally had this bar below the Ghostly Ale and Werewolf Wash, but goddamn, that scent man. It's like going to a party at a vampire's castle and just being met with the gothic scene of blood-sucking debauchery. It just perfectly captures that Dracula vibe with that incredibly refreshing scent. It's so unique too. Berry meets musk, fruit punch meets dark leather. So it's a fresh, fruity scent, but also has some manliness to it as well. I love some of the ingredients here too. Resurrection plant is one of my favorites, and I love black currant seeds for grit. It's a surprisingly hydrating brick for one that wants to drain you of your blood. When I did the soap guide for this bar, I had a feeling it'd be one that quickly became one of my favorites, and it certainly has. At 3 is the Drunken Pumpkin from Dr. Squatch. The only bar today that was discontinued, yet it's still one of the better ones. Every time I'm ranking this bar in some kind of list, I start thinking I'm overhyping it due to nostalgia, but then I go and smell it, which is still going strong by the way like 3 years later, and I'm just like, yeah, this is a fair spot. Honestly, the original Drunken Pumpkin scent might not only be the best one I've ever smelled from Squatch, but any company overall. Squatch tried to remake it into the Woodbarrel Bourbon. It was close, pretty nifty, but more oak than musk. And more recently they resurrected it into the Headless Rinse. Again, close, but with an infusion of pineapple for some reason. Nothing can quite live up to the lofty expectations of the Drunken Pumpkin. That sweet, fall-spiced pumpkin bourbon cologne scent is simply unmatched. The brick also feels great to use. It's zero grit and slammed with some pumpkin ingredients, making for one of the better cleans of a Squatch bar. At 2 is the Brick of the Dead from Dr. Squatch. If we're talking about which brick is the spookiest, the one that most perfectly captures the spirit of Halloween, I think it would have to be the Brick of the Dead. It's kind of an earthy vanilla scent, but that really just doesn't tell the full story. It somehow perfectly fits that haunted graveyard vibe, just a foggy, spooky smell. it might be the most unique scent Squatch has ever made, and to me it has long passed the Drunken Pumpkin as the standard of a Squatch Halloween boy. The medium grit is nice, although I wouldn't say this is one of the deeper cleaning bars on this list today. And at 1 is the Twisted Pumpkin from Sudsy Bear. The reason that I put the Twisted Boy at number 1 over the Drunken Pumpkin and the Brick of the Dead is simple. I think it feels a lot better to use. The drop off from the Brick of the Dead scent to the Twisted Pumpkins isn't nearly as significant as the drop off from the Twisted Clean to the Dead Boys Clean. And that's not to say that the Brick of the Dead or the Drunken Pumpkin aren't great bars to use in the shower, but the Twisted is just on another level. It's one of the best cleaning bars I've ever used. Might be the thickest lather of any brick, which isn't surprising as this boy is absolutely stacked ingredient-wise, including with actual bourbon, which none of the other spiked pumpkin bars can say, as well as with pumpkin butter. Pumpkin butter is also how I would describe this scent, like warm pumpkin pie with some fall spices. This is just a brick you want to bite into. Absolutely love this bar. It's not only the Pumpkin King, but today, the king of Halloween bricks. And there you have it, mains. I want to ask you guys a few questions for the comments to see how your answers differ. Which brick on this list is your favorite overall? Which one do you think is the spookiest that best fits Halloween? And which do you think is the best feeling one to actually use in the shower? Happy Halloween, Frick Nation. Stay spooky. Boom, man!